When I was 22, I spent 5 months studying abroad in Siena, Italy, traveling around through Europe. And as you can imagine, it was magical. You know, every day was new, adventure, learning new languages, meeting new people, new food, you name it. And it seemed like every single day that I was abroad was this peak experience on top of the mountain. And because I was away from everybody I knew, I had this opportunity to kind of recreate myself and be anybody I wanted to be. And that gave me the freedom to actually just be myself. And it was the first time I really felt like, okay, I got it, I'm me. But then I came back to LA, and those peak experiences that I was having abroad got lost in the day-to-day, got lost in the routine. I didn't have the structure I had before. The community that I built abroad wasn't here anymore. And this is before Facebook and digital photos, so I couldn't share my pictures with people. I really couldn't share the amount of stories that I had to seemingly the people that I wanted to share it the most. Yeah, that was a big thing. I had a lot of good photos and a lot of good stories. And so that took me into a very dark place, and very dark, deep depression set in for me. And combining a little bit of alcohol and marijuana, that depression turned into mania. And on March 17th, 2003, the day the US declared war on Iraq, I actually checked myself into the UCLA psych ward at the tail end of a 3-day manic episode. And when I came out 8 days later, I was lost. I didn't know who I was anymore. The person that I knew in Italy and traveling abroad was all gone. The stigma that I felt for being bipolar and not even being able to talk about it with some of my close friends, and even some of my family members still to this day don't even know. That was with me really hard. And in addition to that, the medication that I was on just completely numbed me. You know, it wasn't, I wasn't myself, and I knew I needed to shake this off. I knew something needed to change. And it took about 9 years from that moment until I got to Pardes. But along the way, I knew I had to start a spiritual journey. And that led me to organizations like Aish and Chabad and Israelite and Wilderness Torah and Limud LA. And I was having all these different Jewish experiences where Limud LA especially was really important, where it encouraged you to take one next step on your Jewish journey. So at the age of 31, I decided to take a big leap. I quit my job in the entertainment industry during one of the biggest global recessions of all time, right? And I said, okay, I'm gonna go to Jerusalem and I'm gonna learn text. And of course my parents were like, what are you doing? You're crazy, you have a job, you have insurance, everything's secure. But I something deep down, I knew that there was ancient wisdom in our texts, and I thought somehow the stones of Jerusalem would tell me who I am, right? And there's a great story from Reb Zalman in his book, Jewish with Feeling. And he talks about a time where he took a group of his students to the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And after a brief conversation, one of the students raises his hand and he says, what's the point of a rabbi anyway? And instead of being offended by it, the Rebbe says, what a wonderful question. Let me tell you. It says in our Bible, in Malachi, the earth is filled with your desire, right? And there's plenty of treasure to find, but you gotta know where to look. You gotta know where to dig. Otherwise, you're gonna be left with just mud and dirt. But if you ask the geologist of the soul, he can direct you where to dig. And you might find silver, which is love of God. You might find gold, which is awe before God. Or you might find diamonds, which are faith. A Rebbe can show you where to dig, but you have to do the digging. And for me, Pardes was the place for me to do the digging alongside a group of fellow seekers and teachers who were getting down and dirty with me all the time. And I want to share 3 stories, 3 parts that exemplify that. One of them has to do with our very own Yaffa, and we talk about this story quite a bit. But it was probably like the first week that I was there. We're in room 4, Levi Cooper's Chassidut class. And Levi Cooper's, we're learning Joseph Shamash in Chassidut. And he wants us to buy the book. And I look at the book, and I open it up, and I'm like, this is Hebrew. There's no English here. Like, what am I going to do with the Hebrew book? I'm never going to be able to open it up and look at it and read it and understand it. And I'm talking this over with Yaffa, and she goes, why not? And I don't know if I even said anything, but I remember in my mind, the only comeback that I could have for Yaffa, the only thing I could say to her was, well, because it's hard. And of course, Yaffa then turns into her like amazing cheerleader more. You're amazing. You can do it. It's great. It'll be fine. It's hard work, but it's okay. And like having Yaffa at your side as, you know, it's incredible. Like you feel like you can do anything. And at the end of the year and a half that I was there, yeah, okay, maybe not every Hebrew word. And even now while I'm in a rabbinical school, I still don't understand every single Hebrew word. But it's not so much of a foreign language to me because I had the time to go through it. The second story it would be with Rav James's silent meditation retreats and his spirituality track. One of the things about a manic episode, if anybody knows, is during the process of mania, it is, for me at least, there was such a heightened sense of spirituality. There is a connected presence that I have never felt before in my life. The thing is, it's warped and masked in madness and in chaos. So I knew I had to do something spiritually to really work on that. And one time on one of the week-long silent meditation retreats that I went on with James, it was the 6th day that that 6th night, about to end, and I was like, I don't want this to end. This is incredible, whatever is happening. So I stayed in the tent a little bit later while everybody went to sleep. And as I was meditating, doing whatever, I started to have an asthma attack. And normally, when I have an asthma attack, it's like, oh God, where's my medicine? I'm freaking out. I'm running all over the place. Like, I can't breathe. Panic mode sets in, right? Which is the worst thing you want to do if you just want to get air to your lungs. It's the worst thing you could possibly do. But because I was on a sixth day of a silent meditation retreat, it was like, okay, I'm having an asthma attack. I know my medication is in the other room. I'll be fine. Let me just be with the asthma attack and experience it and see what it feels like. And then it's from there I started talking to my lungs. I started giving love to my lungs. Saying, I love you, lungs. It's okay. You're going to be fine. Thank you for every single breath that you have put into my being for all these years. And I've had asthma since I was 6 years old. I was 33 at that point. That was the first time I ever loved my lungs. I ever appreciated this part of my body that works. Okay, it's diseased, but it works. I can breathe. And so learning how to do that sense of self-love, self-care was a huge, huge component for me. The last one was La'asok b'divrei Torah, right? The very first session that Dean Bernstein will do for every new year is the blessing of immersing yourself in Torah. And that gave me the freedom to really see myself in the characters, in the stories, in whatever was going on in our tradition. And there's one person that I, relate to a lot. His name happens to be Joseph. And it's not just because my mom's name is also Rachel, and but his story resonates with me a lot. He was forced into a pit multiple times in his life. And for me, walking down the corridor or about to enter the psych ward, flanked by my parents, as I feel like I'm about to go into prison, right? That, for me, a long time was my pit. It was my bottom. It was the worst moment of my life. But the amazing part of the Joseph story is the very end, when his brothers come to him and after their father has died, and he say, "Listen, Joseph, please don't take revenge on us. Please, we're sorry for what we did. Please don't take retribution against us." And his response, I think, is incredible. He says, "Don't fear, for I'm not in the place of God. While you intended me harm, God intended it for good for this day." And Joseph had the ability to look at his life as a victim. He had the ability to really, not get out of the pit whatsoever. And similarly, I didn't want to live with the life and the shame of stigma or anything like that. And I really worked hard to try to shift my narrative. And thank God for good therapy and good therapists and Torah that changed me, that I've been able to learn, that really transcends a story, the storytelling that we do every year. And so now when I look back at that, it's not my lowest point. It's my deployment date. It's the date that I know that I needed to work for a higher purpose. I needed to be in the service of God to help others out of the pit, and to hopefully guide others to be able to dig for their own treasure. So I'm very grateful for Pardes. I'm very grateful for the countless other seekers, colleagues, everybody here that has really enabled me to glean my own treasure. And yeah, I'm looking forward to getting down and dirty with anybody else and other students and teachers along the way. So thank you very much.